Hi everyone, Donna here from Clever Crafting. Thank you so much for joining me today. I just want to first of all apologize for not being around for a while. Life's been a bit hectic, but we're back on track now. So tonight we're doing a background thumping technique on a background stamp. So this is actually derived from the Gina K thumping technique. So make sure on YouTube you go and look that up because that's an awesome technique. And I've altered it a little bit here to give us this glorious background here for the fairies. You can see I've really loved it and I've made plenty of cards. So I'm actually going to be using distress oxides tonight, which give you a really great effect, but you can also do this with dye inks. So I'm going to start off with some mowed lawn, and I am just using a finger dauber and popping this on the bottom. This is going to be the grassy section of my background scene, or of my whole scene on the card in actual fact. Now you can use a brush or just a sponge or a ink blending tool, whatever you like. I'm just using a finger dauber because I already had the green on there and it seemed like a good choice for me at the time. I've gone about a third up on my piece of card there. Now that's just a lightweight card. I actually use a 250 GSM. It's a J Burrows brand that I get from Officeworks. It's cheap and cheerful and it works like a charm for this type of thing. And I've gone up about a third. I think I've mentioned that already. The card size here is an A6, which is 14.8 centimeters wide and 10.5 centimeters tall. These are the stamps and the die, well, the stamp and the die set that we'll be using in creating this card. They come in this month's kit, which is May 2022. And I am just popping that on the background. So the card base, as I mentioned, is an A6, but we are going to cut it down. So this stamp, I just want to talk about this stamp again for a second, actually doesn't stamp the trees, it stamps the background or the space between the trees, which lends itself really well to this technique that we're doing tonight. So I'm just grabbing myself a piece of scratch paper because I am going to want to lighten up the first layer of ink that I put on. So the first ink that I've chosen tonight is the Distress Oxide Scattered Straw. And you'll see here, although I have cut a little bit of it out, that I actually use a considerable amount of it on there. I make sure that it's really well inlaid. And of course, this stamp is well seasoned because I've been using it an awful lot. I mean, it's an awesome background stamp. Why would you not use it a lot? Okay, so now that you can see that I've got it on there, I'm going to put my scratch paper on. And although it looks like I'm pressing down, I'm not. I'm really lightly going over there and getting a lot of the ink off. What you can't see is how uneven it is. It's quite uneven, the yellow that I've left on there. So this is our thumping technique. So literally what I'm doing is I am just getting plenty of ink on my dauber there, and I am just thumping it or tapping it onto my stamp. Now you can see that between my stampings, I'm rubbing it off on that scratch piece of paper. That's just so I don't cross-contaminate, get the yellow ink in my blue ink there. So that blue ink that I'm using is Tumbled Glass, and then the yellow one the pink one, I beg your pardon, that I'm using is Victorian Velvet. So I actually normally use the lavender one here, but I just use the Victorian Velvet tonight because I thought it would be nice as a change. So I'm doing the same thing with that, literally just putting ink on my finger dauber and thumping it or bouncing it on my stamp. So I'm just going to pick that up. I slowed that down to normal speed again, and I'm just going to pick that up so you can see the type of look that it is. It kind of looks a bit like a hot mess, but it will give us a great result. Now I'm just using my spray bottle here. Now with this spray bottle, and in actual fact I have found with pretty much most spray bottles, if you just press it a little bit, bigger drops will come down, and if you press it all the way and quickly, a fine mist comes out. So I did a bit of both. I did two of the smaller ones so I get bigger blobs, and then one fine mist, and I stood up when I sprayed it, and look at that result. I stood up because I wanted a bit more height, and it spreads out more over the stamp. And that result is just stunning. And you can see that by doing the grass first, it gives it a more organic look between the transition between the grass and the trees. To really add to that, I've got this stencil. Now this stencil was in a previous kit a couple of months back, I think. I think it might have been the March kit for those of you that get the monthly kits. That's March 2022, and I'm literally just using my mowed lawn again, and I'm using the same finger dauber, and I'm just doing the top part of it. I'm not going right down to the line because I don't want the straight line, and you can see that that's helped us blend the trees in with the grass. I've just die cut a whole pile of these, 4 of them actually, and I showed you a moment ago the stamp that I used, another background stamp, a wood background stamp to go on the tree that's going to go on the top. I've just done this out of craft colored card, and I'm going to stack them. You can see the 3 that I'm going to use at the base I've cut the doorway out of, because I just want to give my tree height. But first of all, I'm going to just put a little bit of vellum over the windows, because I don't want them, I want them between the first layer and the second layer, and all the other layers will just go on again after that. So I've stacked them all, you can see that, and I just used my Smart Art glue and stacked them all, and I've just inked up all the edges. It really makes a big impact when you ink up all the edges. And I do just want to show you, you can see that I've inked the edges around that little mushroom, and there's exactly the same mushroom, and I haven't inked the edges. You can see the difference that that little bit of inking makes. It really brings it up off the page, and it adds dimension to it. So now with this die, you do also get all of the little edges for the windows on and around the door for your tree house. I actually cut all of them out of a matte metallic cardstock. I didn't want it to be ultra shiny, but I did like to have the bit of gold on there. So just finished that off. The little window box there, I put a piece of double-sided foam tape beside it to give it a little bit added dimension. So now this is all my layered trees over the back, and I'm putting a piece of this, just a bit of the scrap of the paper pad that came with this month's kit, or that's available as a part of the kit, on the back, so when you open the door you don't look straight through to the trees. And one of those other doors that I cut out, I just put on the back of that front door to keep that all nice and neat. And now I'm just going to glue that. Now because that's cut off at the top, that tree, I want to line it up at the top. So I've just turned my card to the side and stuck that on, adding another little mushroom down there because those mushrooms are so cute. And then I'm using my grass stencil again. My friend Carol did this in class actually, so it was good to see. It really adds to the effect of it. You can see the grass coming over the top of the mushrooms. So now that we've completed our scene, I'm just going to pop some glue on the back and put it on my base, which is a nice color to match the mushroom, actually a nice peachy color to match the mushroom. And there's our completed card. Actually, I think I added the cobblestones, but you'll see that in the photos at the end. One of the advantages, of course, of using glue there is you can move it around, and look at that gorgeous background. I mean, it is a beautiful background. So thank you so very much for joining me tonight. I really hope that you learned something from here. Please check out our link below to our Facebook group. Come along and check us out. There's a heap of these cards on there, so you get lots of other ideas. Once again, I really appreciate you spending time with me. So if you want to like my video and subscribe, that would be great. Until next time, stay safe and happy crafting.